The Tyler Glasnow trade chatter is everywhere, but the Dodgers aren't flinching. One direct conversation shut it down, and it reveals how this front office really thinks.
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? I'm Harry Ruiz. That's Travis Rodgers, and it's time for Locked On Dodgers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. On today's show, a reunion Dodgers fans have been waiting for, the latest regarding Kiké Hernandez. The Dodgers quietly make a defense-first move in the outfield, but first, we're diving into the Tyler Glasnow trade chatter, why his name came up, why it matters, and why this might actually be a non-story after all, Travis.
Yeah, it's funny. He went from being a guy that was kind of on the back end of this to a guy who's right in the middle of it. Can't wait to talk about it on today's episode of Locked On Dodgers, brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long.
You can catch Travis every weekday from 3 to 6 on 710 ESPN LA or stream the Travis and DeMarco show on the ESPN LA app. For me, when I'm not on the call for USC football or the Las Vegas Raiders, this is home base. This is where I get to lock in with you and talk Dodgers baseball. And honestly, there's nowhere else I'd rather be. If you're checking out the show for the first time, welcome. We're glad you're here. Appreciate you giving us a shot. And to our everydayers, you already know the deal. You're the heartbeat of this podcast, and we don't do this without you. Are you watching on YouTube? Go ahead, hit the like button, leave a comment, and subscribe so you're locked on with us for every episode. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your pods, a 5-star rating goes a long way in helping more Dodgers fans find the show. All right, let's jump in. Glasnow says he's staying put in LA. The Dodgers are no strangers to being connected to every major name on the trade market, and this offseason is no different. What's unusual this winter is just how many playoff caliber teams are reportedly open to moving high-end starting pitching. When that happens, the ripple effect is inevitable. Even teams that don't need trade arms are suddenly finding themselves in these conversations. That's how Tyler Glasnow's name entered the rumor mill. It was dragged into it right here, Travis. But we got Glasnow talking with MLB Network saying, I ain't going nowhere. Let's go and hear him first, and then we'll dive deep into it.
Seen some rumors that I would get traded for him, so it's like I don't know what to believe. I've talked to Andrew in our front office, and they're like, "No, you're not going anywhere." So they told me I'm not going to get traded, and I trust them. So that's obviously a nice feeling. I think too, anytime I do get like overwhelmed or stressed with baseball, I think sometimes it's nice to just be able to like zoom out and be like, "Dude, what are you freaking out about? Like you're literally living your dream, playing in Dodger Stadium." So I still have moments where I'm sitting in the dugout and like I pinch myself every now and again, and like I'll have these moments where I'll like look up and check out the seats where I used to sit and just like kind of soak it all in. And it's just, especially to come out this year and like to win the World Series, I don't know how or like why I'm so blessed to be able to do this for my job, but it's just, there's so many different times where I'm like, it's just unbelievable.
All right, Travis. So first off, obviously the name that he got thrown into the hat with the most was when Tarik Skubal with the winter meetings, with a lot of people saying, hey, there's deep conversations. And obviously if you're going to let go of your not ace, but like the best pitcher in your league right now, you want something in return. Glasnow's name was obviously going to be out of the rotation the Dodgers have. That's the one guy that you could think maybe they would get rid of. Now he gets assurance from Andrew Friedman from the front office that he ain't going nowhere. What do you make out of that?
Yeah, there's a couple of things here. Number one, it's a pretty nice compliment, I think, if you really kind of take a 30,000-foot view at this, to be the guy that's the key piece of any Tarik Skubal deal, right? If that's the piece going back, then it means that you're on a certain level as well. So maybe that'll give him a little bit of a confidence boost, if nothing else, to be the guy that, well, look, if we're going to give you a great player, we need a great player coming back. So I think there's that. The thing that jumps out at me, and you know, I don't know Tyler Glasnow at all. I've listened to a bunch of interviews with him, but he might be one of those few athletes, I think, that is a little too smart that is a little too aware of what is going on out in the universe and is very plugged in to everything, because everything I hear him talking about, he's right. And that, he takes these moments of self-reflection, say, hey, I used to sit up here, life is good. I'm in the place I want to be. I make a lot of money. I'm on the team I want to be on. We win the World Series. This is good. Most athletes are just kind of head down, move forward. I got a game in this many days. I got to get ready for this. He hears and feels all of the external factors. So I kind of like that about him. I kind of like that he's one of these people that doesn't just talk in cliches, that does listen, that does know, that hears rumors, picks up the phone and says, hey, yo, what's up? Am I moving somewhere? And then when he gets reassurances that he kind of comes down to the spot a little bit. This is professional sports, right? That unless you have a no trade clause, or unless you're one of these 10-5 guys, this can happen. This is the life they've chosen, so to speak, that you may get moved a little bit along the way. I'm glad he's staying. Now, if Tarik Skubal is available, bye. That's just that. Thank you for your service. Good luck in Detroit and welcome to LA, Tarik Skubal. But it doesn't look like that's going to happen. He was essential to them winning the World Series. A guy that's taken a lot of criticism for being unavailable over the last couple of years, really stepped up and delivered in the best way possible. I'm a Tyler Glasnow fan. I'm glad he's staying, and I'm glad he wants to be here.
Yeah, and he didn't dodge the question. He didn't hedge.
No.
He just went straight to the source. And with players nowadays, Travis, it's usually my agent spoke with this guy. He said that he spoke directly with Andrew Friedman with the front office, and that he was told it was crystal clear that you're not going anywhere. The thing is, that's the situation in December. Things can change real quickly a month later, 2 weeks later, a week later, or a day later, if the correct offer comes through and they're able to get themselves somebody that is coming through. Because if you're going to go with somebody in a trade where it's like, okay, I'm letting go of my top of the line pitcher, but I'm getting something back. Glasnow's entering his early 30s. He's on a sizable deal, but not as much as Skubal is going to command once he hits free agency. And when healthy, right there, that guy, he is the top of a rotation. How many teams wish they had Tyler Glasnow on their squad? And with the Dodgers, you had him pitching behind Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Blake Snell, Shohei Ohtani. Tyler Glasnow was your fourth pitcher in that rotation during the postseason. Plenty of teams, with the exception of very few, would have him as the number one pitcher on their team. So if you're able to get him in return for one of your pitchers, that's great. And look, Travis, when you talk about he's in the $30 million range, do you think the Tigers wouldn't be like, hey, you know what? We get a top of the line pitcher for $30 million for 3 years instead of Skubal might end up getting that number in 1 year whenever he ends up hitting free agency. So what was a huge contract 2 years ago, this year, it ain't that big.
No, and you're right that he'd be the number one guy on almost every team in the league. That he is down the pecking order in LA just speaks to the amount of quality arms that they have, like you mentioned. I think this is one of the, I want to say it's a hidden advantage because I don't think it's hidden, but it's one of the less spoken about advantages of having a team like the Dodgers have right now. People want to be here. People don't want to leave. He was traded here and signed an extension here, knowing that he was going to have an opportunity to do exactly what he's done, which is compete for and win World Series. There's going to be a lot of guys that chose to come here to do what Tyler Glasnow has done. There's no guarantee that you get to stay. This is the really hard part. Like I said a second ago, I'm a fan of his, but he's a really intriguing piece when it comes to moving people and getting other people coming in, because his number, while high, isn't crazy high to where other teams couldn't absorb it. No, this is why when you hear these deals, Shohei's name, Mookie's name, Fred, like these guys aren't really in there like that. Glasnow's name, he's in that tier just below that. So other teams like the Tigers could conceivably absorb a salary like that where they can't afford a guy like Tarik Skubal. The Dodgers can fit anybody into their tent under the current system. So, Glasnow's in a weird way, it's a compliment that other teams want you. Other teams know your value. And, this is how it goes. And when you have a team like that, they're always looking to get better. I think that's got to be both incredibly comforting and a little bit disorienting if you're a member of this team, knowing that no matter how good you are, if they think they can get a little bit better, they're going to do it. It's like, unless you're Mookie or Sho or Yamamoto or one of those guys, you probably do have to think, man, there's a moment where if they can get a little better, they might do it, and I might be on the way out. That's how they operate, and it's worked really well for them.
So, yes, his name did come up, but that's the price of being on a big market contender team with assets. But all signs right now point to this being less about about reality and more about how other teams view the Dodgers as a potential trade partner in any blockbuster conversation. And the bottom line is, Glasnow doesn't seem to be going anywhere, and the Dodgers sound perfectly fine with that, because starting pitching, you never have enough. It doesn't matter how many you have on your roster, you never have enough.
Yeah, and kind of circling back to what you said a second ago, that if taking Glasnow at his word, that he said he spoke to the front office and they said, dude, we're not doing it, then they're not doing it, because that's what they will typically say is, we're not looking to do something right now, or we have had some conversations, but we don't think it's going to go through. They're usually pretty honest with their players, because you have to be, right? You get a bad reputation. Nobody wants that. So if he's saying they told me I'm not moving, then I don't think he's moving. I think that puts his mind at ease until the next time a big name comes up.
No doubt about it. And now, while the rotation rumors definitely grab headlines, coming up on Locked On Dodgers, LA also made a move that flew under the radar.
NFL Sundays, they move fast, and we're running out of them, right? One big Sunday, and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting, because you're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time, because with FanDuel, you can place bets as the action starts to unfold. Every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. I was at the Rams game against the Lions yesterday, and that momentum was swinging back and forth the entire first half. And that's when live betting's at its best. When the game starts to shift, a receiver gets hot, Amon-Ra St. Brown or Puka Nacua. A defense tightens up, let's go Rams. Or the momentum flips after a turnover, and FanDuel, they let you jump right into that moment. Live spreads and money lines, they adjust instantly. Player props update as guys heat up, and you can bet next touchdown score, drive results, totals, and a whole lot more. It keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, every possibility. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you.
Thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. You already live your team every day. Now take it up a level and go ad-free. Join the Everydayer Club today and get Locked On Dodgers with no interruptions, members-only Discord access, and more, all for just $5 a month or $50 a year. Go to LockedOnDodgers.com.supercast.com. Once again, LockedOnDodgers.supercast.com, or check the link in the show notes to learn more. The Dodgers have doubled down on defense. The Dodgers claimed outfielder Michael Siani off waivers, and if your first reaction was, who? That's okay. This isn't a splash move. It's a purpose move. He's a left-handed hitter, but more importantly, he's a defense first. Someone who can play all three outfield spots and do it well with speed, range, instincts. That right there is his calling card. So Travis, that guy right there, added to Edwin Diaz, makes the Dodgers 40-man roster be complete. There's no more spots. What do you think about the Dodgers going with the defense first outfielder?
Hold on, Harry. Let me figure out how to turn that off.
Hey, it might be Siani calling right now and be like, hey, man, you better talk really good about me.
I didn't even know my computer was capable of doing such a thing. That was exciting. No, I think that this is kind of what they do. This is how they like to set up their hand to play. We have what we have. Let's see what happens next. And one of the things that they were short in was the ability to have, a really tight defensive unit in the event that that's what you need. I thought you saw him do it a little bit last year, the way that they would use Justin Dean, that Dean would come in and fill a very, very specific role for them. I'm going by memory here, but I'm virtually certain that we never saw Justin Dean taking at bat. But we saw him in the game quite a bit. We saw him out in center field quite a bit. We know when he had his hands in the air after that ball got lodged in the wall in Toronto. So the Dodgers are one of those teams that will have a very specific player for a very specific purpose. Now, whether or not he's here at the end of the line, I have no idea. I would be surprised, right? But this is what they do. This is who we have. We're going to start playing with this. We'll tinker a little bit over here. We'll tinker a little over here. We'll try this guy. We'll try that guy. This guy goes out. This guy comes in. And they're constantly molding the back half of that roster to see what they need by the time they get to the end. Because go back to last season, at the beginning of the year, Justin Dean, Alex Call, guys like this were like, they weren't on the team. They weren't talked about at all. And yet they were in some pretty key situations. So this is kind of filling that role because Dean moved on to San Francisco. So I'm not surprised that they did it. I don't think that put it to you this way, and with all due respect, I don't know if we're going to say his name ever again outside of today's podcast, or maybe he's in the game in a crucial moment in the World Series, making a great defensive play. But this is what they do. They put their ducks in a row, and then they start to rearrange them once the season starts to play itself out.
Yeah, Justin Dean was with the Dodgers since the second week of August. He had 2 at-bats since then until the end of the postseason run, which for many of us, it was a surprise that he was on the postseason roster. When he was on the early wildcard DS rosters, we were like, that's interesting. And then it was like, well, the team is still carrying him all the way through the World Series, and he ends up being in a huge moment right there for the Dodgers. And when they lose him, it's like, okay, we got an open spot on the roster. And this right here, Travis, is that he could be on the team potentially all the way through October, but he could also be let go in January if they find somebody else that they're like, hey, you know what? We need a spot on the 40-man roster. I feel that he's one of the first options where it's like, okay, sorry, but we're going to bring somebody else, Siani, into our team because offensively the numbers aren't loud. He's not here to replace anybody when it comes to the bats. He's here to support the outfield, and this move makes a lot of sense when you look at the roster construction because center field depth is thinner than it appears, especially with Tommy Edman expected to be eased into spring training after that ankle surgery. Andy Pages can handle the spot, but behind him, that's where insurance matters, and Siani gives the Dodgers flexibility in that spot.
Yeah, that's the blessing and the curse of being a player like Siani, who is. You're here. You can almost taste it. You can almost feel it. I know we talk about this a lot. The everydayers will know how often we mention this. But the idea of, when Alex Call got traded to the Dodgers last season, his first reaction was, I'm going to the World Series. And he was right. Now, he was able to stay on the team long enough to get to the World Series and get to play in the World Series. I'm sure that's the same thing that's going through Siani's head is I'm going to get to go play in the playoffs at least, but you got to make it to October first. You got to actually be, and when you're towards the back end of the roster like that, your spot is far from guaranteed. So we'll see, welcome. Hope it works out for you. But at that back end, man, that thing has a lot of churn and burn. So we'll see whether or not he makes it to the end of the line.
I feel right here first, Travis, is like, get me to opening day. Let me just play one game and guarantee I'm getting a ring if this team goes the whole way and goes and wins 3 championships in a row, because there's a lot of opportunities right there for players who just come up, pitch as a reliever for 1-2 games, then get released. And it's like, hey, they were already a part of this roster. They're going to get a ring. They're going to be recognized. You go to their Wikipedia page and it's going to say 2024 World Series champion because they were on that team, or 2025 World Series champion because they pitched a game or two, an inning or two with this team. And that's going to be a part of their legacy the rest of their way. They'll be able to show their ring to their grandkids and be like, hey, I pitched for the LA Dodgers. And then they go to Baseball Reference like, wait, Grandpa, you pitched like an inning for them. It's like, hey, I pitched for them. I was in that clubhouse with Shohei Ohtani for 3 days.
So you can see some of the stuff on the shelves behind me. Like as I go over here, my little Why Not Us or UCSB thing over here. I got my Ole Gaucho bobblehead over there. Noah Davis, I'm a proud UCSB baseball alumni. Noah Davis pitched. He's a Santa Barbara guy too.
Yes.
He pitched for the Dodgers this year. Now, he only pitched like 7 innings, and they didn't go great, but he was on the team, and he gets a World Series ring, and he was a part of how this goes. So, yeah, man, there are some opportunities here to get in and do some things. Even if you're not, Yoshinobu Yamamoto World Series MVP, you can be a part of something pretty special if you can make it to that opening day roster for sure.
And also for folks that say you never wear any Rams stuff, you got 2 Rams mini helmets right above your head, right there.
Right up there.
I love those two throwback helmets. They look very, very cool. But Siani right here, late inning defense, a true center field option, speed off the bench, and someone who doesn't need everyday at-bats to contribute to this team. They lost Justin Dean. Well, welcome aboard, Mike Siani. This front office, they like to lock in depth early, then force the league to react. And Siani, he's that kind of guy. He isn't flashy, but in the long season, this is the kind of move that keeps you from scrambling in May, June, July before the trade deadline. All right. Speaking of familiarity, depth, and October tested experience, next on Locked On Dodgers, there's one name that keeps coming up, and Dodgers fans know exactly what he represents. What's up with Kiké? The World Cup is coming back to North America for the first time since 1994. And with 48 teams for the first time ever, it's going to be massive. But let's be honest, getting tickets is usually the hardest part. That's why the Game Time app is clutch, finally giving fans a real advantage when it comes to snagging seats. Pick a game like any of the group stage matches for Team USA in LA or Seattle, then tap a section and have your tickets locked in within minutes. No confusion, no hunting for fine print. Take the guesswork out of buying World Cup tickets and every match, concert, or event with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, download the app, make an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. Don't forget to follow Locked On Dodgers not only on YouTube, but on X, Instagram, and TikTok as well. You can find Travis on social media at Travis Rodgers on X and Instagram. Meanwhile, I'm at Harry Ruiz on X, at Harry_Ruiz on Instagram, and at Harry Ruiz_ on TikTok. Is the Kiké Hernandez return inevitable? Miguel Rojas is already back in the Dodgers. The question now is simple. Is the other free agent veteran from this squad, Kiké Hernandez, next? Kiké was asked directly about it, and there was no hesitation when he talked about his interest. Here's what Kiké Hernandez had to say this weekend to David Vassay.
Yeah, but of course I just had surgery, and I'm not going to be ready for opening day, so there's no rush. If it ends up working our way and we come back to LA, all that matters is that I'm ready for the second half and ready to do my thing in October.
I love it.
There he is. He's open for return right there, Travis, even with elbow surgery, even if it means waiting until the second half of the season, even if the process takes time, that alone told you a lot from Kiké.
Yeah, and I just absolutely love the fact that he knows who he is and he knows what he brings to the table. Like what he said right there is exactly what every Dodger fan is thinking in their own head, which is, dude, I don't care if you're there for opening day, and not in a bad way, but just be healthy towards the end of the season so you can go do your thing in October, which we've seen him done time after time after time. And, until he doesn't do it, I'm willing to run it back and have him do it over and over again. He's got that knack. The Dodgers are super buttoned up, right? They're super professional. They're very corporate, for lack of a better word. He's not, and they need somebody who's not. They need somebody who is a little bit looser, who is a little bit more of a wild card, who is the guy that will say something on live TV because we don't give a blank. He'll do those sorts of things, and you need it. You need somebody like him. And, oh, by the way, he's a really good player. And, oh, by the way, he can play 8 different positions if you need him to it. As weird as it sounds, the Dodgers, because they are as explosive as they are and as good as they are, they almost need a dedicated mop-up pitcher in certain situations, and he checks that box as well. So I expect him back. From listening to what he said, it sounds like he expects to be back. Everybody that I've talked to around the team and that's kind of plugged into these things says that it's all but officially done, that they're just waiting for all the pieces to kind of get lined up for him to sign and everything else. So the only surprise at this point would be as if it didn't happen.
No doubt about it. When he went to the Red Sox, he ended up getting a pretty good deal for a guy like him. 2 years, $14 million. Then he extended it for 1 more year, $10 million. He returned to the Dodgers, $6.5 million. It was below that value that he had in his latest contract. Right now, I feel that he's in the stage of his career where it's like, hey, man, I just like having fun. I'm going to make more money with this job than with pretty much any other job that I can do outside of the sport. And I can just pad that bank account, make sure that my family is taken care of for the rest of their lives, that I could live. He can be a commentator very easily in the sports world nowadays, either in English or in Spanish. And the way that the baseball market is booming with Apple TV, with ESPN, with all these new players, NBC, he could find a new home like that with the charisma that he has. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. But right now, he's an active player. And add this, Travis Rodgers, Edwin Diaz is a Dodger, a fellow Puerto Rican, a close friend, a presence that matters in the clubhouse, and somebody that Kiké helped recruit, even though Kiké is a free agent right now. He's not a member of the Dodgers roster. And Kiké was telling him about the front office, about how they treat family, about the team, about the environment, about Dodger Stadium. He was recruiting him, even though he's not on the team. I feel that speaks volumes right there.
Oh, huge. Yeah, no, that's a great point. And yeah, I mean, he's an ambassador for the Dodgers, even if he's not currently technically a Dodger. And think about like all the things you said, like economically, Kiké Hernandez has made enough money to live the rest of his life very comfortably. So he can make decisions that aren't purely driven by economics, which is a wonderful place to be, I would imagine. But more importantly, he's got a chance, Harry, to go win his 4th World Series. That is an incredibly small group of people to have 4 World Series titles. And he not only is, like we talked about a second ago, somebody that was on the team, he has been a key contributor to all of this along the way. That's a big part of it too, to be in that incredibly thin slice of guys that have won the World Series 4 times. And then here's the other thing. Most of the guys that become legends, favorite players, guys that we all remember very fondly years after they have finally cycled out of the game and have moved into broadcasting and other things like that, they're almost always the stars. They're almost always guys that you remember because they made a bunch of all-star teams or they won MVPs or Cy Youngs. Kiké is the rare guy who is a role player that everybody loves and everybody will remember and everybody will talk about. Like when you're talking to your kids, my kids are old enough to have seen it, but when your kids are not, by the time that they're, teenagers, hey, well, who's this Kiké Hernandez everybody mentioned? You're not going to have to look it up. You're going to know. You're going to be able to tell them, oh, he did this and this and this, and he played every position. He wore the goofy hat when he would pitch occasionally. Like, we know this guy. And to go somewhere else doesn't make a lot of sense. Like his history is here in Los Angeles with this team. And that's why it's all but guaranteed he's coming back.
He was gone for 3 years and the Dodgers didn't win the World Series in those 3 years. He comes back and he then wins the World Series with the boys in blue. And it's like, okay, It's just a marriage meant to be. Who has played more playoff games than him in Dodger blue? Yeah. Nobody. You can look at him as a super utility guy, as a role player with the Dodgers in the current construction of the team. But when you talk about Dodgers history, he isn't a role player for them. He's part of this franchise postseason DNA. You can't talk about Dodgers postseason without bringing Kiké Hernandez's name. And you're talking about culture. You're talking about a reunion that will re-energize a fan base. It's just a matter of time. It's going to happen with the words that we heard from him. I'm 1,000% confident that it's going to go down for the boys in blue and for Kiké Hernandez. All right, that'll do it for today's pod. Thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. Did Locked On Dodgers make your Spotify Wrapped? Prove it on social media to secure a free month of our brand new Everydayer Club. Just tag our National Locked On Podcast Network account on any social platform and we'll drop you a code. Be one of the first to join the Everydayer Club to get your favorite show ad-free and exclusive access to the members-only Discord channel. For those of you on video, we send you over to the first ever 24/7 National Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. On audio, make sure you make your second listen Locked On MLB. Travis, I mean, the year is almost over, brother. We're here.
Yeah. Another year, another World Series. Let's make it 3 in a row. And I'm ready for spring training. That's all I can tell you. I'm ready to see the pitchers and catchers show up. And we're almost done with football, so it's baseball season already.
Exactly. We got always a lot to talk about, so come back tomorrow. We'll be here with more here on Locked On Dodgers. We appreciate you riding with us. Until next time, keep it real. Keep it Dodger Blue.